was forced to event fusion, but Galileo is going to spread eagle his field and race up towards the finish. Galileo joins the break to winning the Tour Derby.
England's green and pleasant.
And a very warm welcome to the Bar Stewards Inquiry Sunday Sermon. My name's Lee Keys of systembet.co.uk, and with me as always to discuss and chew the fat of the events of the week, current topics, and review yesterday's action is John Lang of John Joe's Blogspot. Good morning, John.
Morning, mate. I'm all set for the match later on. I'm sat here in my St George's thong and I've rubbed in half a pint of Swarthega.
That's the spirit. That's what we like. Yeah, obviously something bigger going off this evening. Come on, England. Can we do it for the first time since 1966? The excitement is building. But on to matters of racing. This is what our podcast's about. If you want football podcast, you can find plenty of them. And obviously very, very sad passing yesterday of probably the biggest influential sire of any horse racing generation in Galileo, John. This sire sired 43 horses, no less, rated 120 plus, including the Great Frankel, Rip Van Winkle, Australia, Nathaniel, mares like Found, Love, Minding, and he's now joined the other parent of Frankel, Kind, who passed away earlier this year, the mare. So both Frankel's parents are dead. And yeah, it's looking pretty grim, would you say, for Coolmore?
Well, obviously we're going to be casting around for a replacement. I mean, they've got an awful lot of road mares there with Galileo blood in them. I'd hesitate to say they're in crisis over this, to be honest. I mean, they probably need to come up with a big stallion. I mean, Galileo was, what, 23?
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, it was getting towards the end anyway. So I mean, it'll have been on the mind that they needed to replace him. And I mean, I think there's some candidates there. You know.
I mean, just looking at it, like, I mean, there was a question that I did get asked, and I forgot to ask it so far, and it was due to have Coolmore got a ready replacement for Galileo? In my opinion, they haven't, John.
No, I don't think they've got a ready replacement. I think you need to sort of cast around a bit. I mean, I would hesitate to suggest any of the 3-year-olds this year would be rushed off to stud as a ideal like-for-like replacement. I did think possibly Point Lonsdale would have the credentials to make up as a foundation stallion if everything went well with his career. I think there's a fair degree of pace on the dam side of the pedigree. The dam's by acclamation, so the thought would be there that he could throw championship standard 2-year-olds. He's only won a listed race himself. He'd probably have to win a Joehurst or something like that. At worst, a futurity at Doncaster.
Yeah.
And then you possibly say if he went on at 3 and won a classic, you'd maybe be in business, you know, because again the pedigree on the sayers side as well, you know. I mean, there's enough to say there he would make up into a foundation stallion.
What do you think to him physically, John?
Yeah, I think he's a real good sort.
Mm.
Yeah, I like him.
Right. I mean, for me, I had a good look through Coolmore's roster, and to be honest, there is one sire that or potential sire that really could get pretty good, but not for producing possible Derby winners. But Glen Eagles, he's yet to have a Group 1 winner worldwide, which obviously isn't a good sign. But when you consider the standard of mares he'll be getting compared to, say, Galileo, etc., I think he's made a very, very good start. And he has, like I said, he has had plenty of very good horses, like anywhere between 100 and 120. And the fact that he's produced that many so far in just 3 years of performances, I think that's really promising. I think if I was sort of up there in Coolmore, I'd be looking to send him some better mares. Because I think he could definitely improve. But as for replacements, I actually think Coolmore have basically got to go out shopping. I mean, you've got Frankel there. Obviously, you can't really crossbreed if you've got any sort of. But you've got Frankel and See the Stars, which is obviously Galileo's half brother. Now, for me, I would be spending a right few quid. I mean, Galileo has got obviously three coverings. So you've got obviously next year after,
Yeah.
and so it's a while yet before we're not going to see Galileo's on the track. So there's no immediate panic for them, but I would definitely be looking to fill the void possibly, and I'd be using like See the Stars. I mean, See the Stars. He's just phenomenal at the moment. There's only Jibawe that's had more Group 1s of the ones that's left now after Galileo, and I just think See the Stars produces a bit of both. You've got like Baid, the new kid on the block at the moment. See the Stars produces a lot of good mile-and-a-half horses, and I think they might just have to look at this and spend a few quid and obviously take some mares away, because I don't think they've got it in the roster now. So Australia's not going to fill the void. So they've not got anything, I don't think, in their rosters that'll carry on producing top class mile-and-a-half horses. So they've got to go elsewhere. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do up to a point. I mean, do you not think that some of the stallions on their roster might benefit from not sharing a roster with Galileo, though, because they will get mare upgrades to a certain extent? I mean, I mean, like, all right, you're putting the line through Australia, but Australia, up until yesterday, was probably the equivalent of me going for a night out with Michael Holding and Tony Cozier and expecting to get the pick of the litter when we're trying to pull. And in all honesty, if I went anywhere with them two, I mean, they wouldn't look at me if I had Willie cured cancer.
I always get these mental images. I mean, it's just
You
anyway.
get the drift.
Yeah. Got walnut whip images, things like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, good and John. So yeah, I mean, obviously you're making the point there that, like you say, others they might, like Australia might get better mares. Obviously, I just made the point that Glen Eagles might get some better mares, because he's more likely to produce, probably, milers, mile and a quarter horses. And yeah, I just thought that was an interesting shout, but definitely interesting times for them. I've no idea what they're going to do, really. But like you say, there's probably not need for much panic at the moment. But it's interesting that we've highlighted, though. I mean, I wonder if Galileo's spunk were running out anyway, because if you look at the last 3 years of Harry Potter, his stats are on the wane.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's getting on, isn't he? So I mean, you would say that maybe his best days as a stallion were behind him. And let's be fair. I mean, they really have made hay while the sun shone, because I mean, you go back to like when Sadler's Wells was a magnificent foundation stallion for them. I mean, they were hardly overbreeding Sadler's Wells. I mean, that was in the days when they said 40 coverings and that's it.
Yeah.
And I mean, they overstepped the mark a fair bit, but nothing to like what they did with their cheaper ones, where they really filled the pockets, like Be My Guest and horses like that. I think Be My Guest probably covered 100 in one season and what have you, but they didn't do that with Sadler's Wells. But I mean, they haven't gone to town really with Galileo. He was kept busy, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely. I don't know the actual numbers per season off the top of my head, but I would. It's definitely over two. Definitely over 200, I reckon. I've just got these like images in my head of. This is terrible. Is this too soon to say it? But the lads are sat there like Galileo stood there on life support, and and the lads are milking every last drop out of it.
The lads don't know that. The lads are coming to do it for them.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean.
You don't get to be one of the lads and do that yourself. Come on.
Yeah. I'm just again another mental image that you just think.
It'd get Rebecca Lewis to do it, wouldn't it?
I mean, it's 200,000 a drop job. You. It's you'd want every last drop out of it before you had to say goodbye to him. I think.
You're not whistling Dixie.
Right. Yeah. So we'll move on to the questions. We've got a couple of questions in before we move on. We'll be reviewing yesterday's action and the July meeting. Me and John will go through some of the races for you. First question is from Carl Swanson, regular listener to the show, and he says, how can the BHA keep proper racing fans interested in the sport? Over the last week, we've had the photo debacle at Sandown, Windsor abandoning the meeting 6 days before it was due to be held. And he says, like many others, are becoming totally disillusioned with how racing is being run. What's the answer, John?
Well, I think the BHA initially need to start looking as though they actually give a shit. Because at the minute, the only thing that any of them seem to give a shit about is getting towards the pension without making any ripples, keeping the company car, keeping the salary, and not offending anybody, and just window dressing the sport for the sake of window dressing. I mean, this whip consultation for starters, it's absolutely stupid. There's no need for it, but it sort of aids the perception that they're doing something, they're administering the sport, which they're not, really. They're just chucking a spoke in here and there and getting on everybody's nerves, But they won't get anywhere while they have the recruitment desk outside the exit at Sandhurst. That's a big problem, I mean, people are coming into this as administrators, stewards, whatever the hell you chose to pick as a role, because they're from good families and they're too thick to hold down a job in the city.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when Rafe and Ralph, both of those two have been very critical of the BHA, and who basically is on the board of the BHA. I think. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he said that none of the main people in charge of running the sport come from any horse racing background whatsoever. Which surely that's I mean, it's not the be all and end all, but it has to be a massive problem if you haven't got a real good deep understanding of the sport. I mean, that's how I'd see it.
As well as a deep understanding of the sport, you need somebody with a really deep love of the sport as well. It's something that needs promoting, and you can't promote a sport like this unless you have that inherent love for it. You need to understand it, like what owners go through with their horses and everything, and how hard it is to make it as a jockey. What the trainer that's only got half a dozen ends up against. You've got to encompass all that. And none of these people live in the real world anyway. So they're cushioned by non-performance related salaries, which, I mean, the marketing department there, I mean, that must be the easiest job in the world. I noticed Rod Street, the Supremo Great British Racing, was talking about the lockdown. And he said they had an indoor Olympics during the fucking lockdown. I mean, what the bloody hell are these people getting paid for?
Yeah.
They should have been lobbying government to get the get people back into the tracks. You know, wearing masks or showing vaccination certificates or whatever the hell else. But now they're playing with bloody hoovers and that at home. I'm making about it on Skype. Absolute cretins.
I think that's it. I think until you start changing the structure of who you employ to run the sport, that's where you start. That's where you've got to start off. Like you say, until they get rid of this, in-house employee, kind of way forward.
How many years have we had the Shergar Cup now? How long's that been going?
I'd say it's been going from memory. I mean, don't quote me. I'd say it's been going about. I'm guessing, I don't know, 15 to 20 years. That kind of.
I was thinking 15, so it's probably more. Now, in that time, they haven't produced anything that's going to give them an assessment of what good that full house at Ascot's doing the sport. By which I mean they're not giving discounted vouchers out for people to come back for Champions Day, so that can equate how many people actually come back for an ordinary day's racing.
Yeah.
Rather than just to gawp about, get plastered, and have an ice cream. I mean, if they at least gave vouchers out, they would be able to quantify the impact it's having and how many people are becoming regular attendees. But no, there's nothing like that. I mean, that's just a basic marketing skill, Somebody straight from school would be all over that.
Yeah.
And these people that they're paying an absolute fortune to can't even come up with something like that.
No. It literally, I mean, it's amazing that, I mean, the Shergar Cup for me, it might have brought some international attention for all I know. It probably has. They've probably got more info than me. I know it's a big turn off from a punting perspective, usually. From my perspective, I don't know what other punters feel on that. But obviously, they brought the racing league in later this kicking off soon, I believe. And again, we've commented on this before. Why do they seem to think that racing is a team sport when it's just not? In fact, it's by far and away not a team sport.
Because they're obsessed with football, and they think the only route they can go down is make people supporters of certain teams. Hence this preponderance of bloody scarves and things. I mean, the minute there's a decent arse now, somebody's bringing out a scarf in the racing colours, aren't they? I mean, absolute load of cobblers.
Yeah.
I mean, the Shergar Cup is a betting medium. Well, I'd sound that they took 16 midgets to Iraq, shot them in a minefield, and I'd bet on the first 8 getting blown to smithereens or something like that. I was messing about with the Shergar Cup.
Yeah, good question, Carl. We like I said, we've got lots of theories on the BHA. It's as if they're deliberately trying to run the game into the ground. That's what it seems like from our perspective. Just whatever they do, it's just head in your hand stuff most of the time. And then, like John says, as long as they are being seen to be pro diversity, trying to do things to appease the whingers that haven't got an interest in the sport whatsoever regarding the whip, etc., then they just think they're doing a good job. It really is horrendous to watch. And the latest thing,
They're not pro diversity, either when you look at it, because I mean, if there were diversity, there'd be some working class people involved.
Yeah.
There would be some people from ethnic communities, but I mean, good God, they've got no chance, have they?
No, not with the Magnolia Cup lineup. No.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't wait for that when it comes round. Right, we move on to the final question before we go through Newmarket's July meeting and Super Saturday. Comes from Lorne Malvo, contributor on the show. He'll be back on next Sunday's sermon. John Leaper seems to have regressed since pre-Derby. Is this down to the horse, Ed Dunlop, the trainer? I would have a different trainer have maintained this horse's progression. Johnny, what's your thoughts on John Leaper?
Well, My thoughts on the trainer are fairly well documented. I won't embellish on them much further. What I would say is Epsom is known for buggering horses up. This horse ran well up to a point at Epsom. He actually began to quicken off the cusp of Tattenham Corner, sustained it for about 100 yards, and then that was the end of him. What did surprise me, that he was out again so quickly. Usually when you're promising horses that go to Epsom and are fairly light campaigns and maybe lacking a bit of experience and the bomb out, it's hard when you don't know the horse and have any real dealings with it, but as a rule of thumb, chances are you wouldn't see that horse for 3 months. You'd maybe 2 runs towards the back end possibly and hope you haven't made too much of a mess of him and bring him back next year when he's a bit stronger and a bit more savvy. So I was surprised to see him coming out at Sandown, and I was also surprised to see the tactics employed when they were ridden him for a turn of foot in the maiden that he ran before Newmarket. I thought they used him up plenty. He had a hard race at Sandown, I thought. And, I would fear for the horse now. I mean, as I mentioned to you before we started the show, you'd sort of have to get the impression he was being aimed at next year's Magnet Cup, but probably wouldn't get in.
Yeah, when he slips down the rating. I mean, certainly I was surprised to see it at Sandown. Not after timing, because I just thought like odd placement to come out so soon. I think if it had been mine after the Derby, I'd have probably even maybe roughly summer campaign off and just like you said, just maybe get him, see if you can get him back for autumn. Maybe like you say, a couple of quiet races. You don't really have to be totally at the races. Just turn up somewhere in a conditions race or a small listed event and ride him quietly and just bring him back steadily. And what will be. But yeah, I mean, he's not. Everyone knows how useless Ed Dunlop is, but yeah. So that's where we stand on that. Right, move on to the results from yesterday. We were in pretty decent form, really, with the tipping. Andy Richmond's gone down really well. Got some good feedback for Andy's contribution yesterday, and Andy and John were very involved with the Magnet Cup finish, tipping up.
And 3 out of the first 5.
Yeah, I'm going to say, it was some tipping performance, John. Also, you were cursing me yesterday because the Bedford Lodge went to Spirit of Bermuda. My choice, beating John's fantastic tip, Rising Star at Double Carpet. I mean, like you say, I had personal emails from a few listeners yesterday saying if Carlsberg did tipsters, and I think some people, I can imagine a few that might have chucked in a little small forecast, things like that when on selections. But if you have, fantastic. But yeah, we didn't do too bad, and it all started off with the Bedford Lodge, Spirit of Bermuda just pipping off Rising Star. Thoughts on that race, John? Anything sort of in that race take your eye? Anything?
I think Spirit of Bermuda is probably the one to take out the race, really. Haggis is just different gravy at the minute, and he's getting horses to go forward, isn't he? The start winning and the progress, and I mean, this could be a case in point. This is going from refusing to race to really putting its head down and nearly my 33's poke. I can check. You'd have to give it 90 minimum. Yeah. You'd say it's probably going to be 100 hours at the end of the year.
Yeah, I like I think there's quite a bit of size to the filly, and I was surprised to see the drift. And when you see drift like that, I think like 17 or 18 was available on the machine near the off for the win. Just absolutely friendless. So you're thinking, good, what's happening here? And I was just surprised, but there we go. That's sometimes markets. And then the next race on the card was the Bet 365 mile handicap, and you and Andy were touting Royal Fleet for a big run. Might have looked visually unimpressive, John, but the time was very fast.
Pulled out as well, didn't it? You know, I mean, it's got a lot more in the tank. That.
Yeah, I mean that's how I sort of looked. I watched it. And obviously, it hung over to the far rail, and you're thinking might not like that. But it's as if I don't know. At the minute, the horse has control of the jockey at the moment. If he's gonna get to that next level, which obviously physically it looks like he can, talent it looks like he can, but if he's bossing the jockey and telling the jockey what he wants to do, and there's no like control from the saddle, which there didn't appear to be, as if Buick said, "Oh, I'm gonna have to let you hang. You want to go there, so I'm letting you go." Maybe that'll hinder his progress. But it was a fast time, so you were right in that. You know, the horse has probably got a lot more to come than that. So interesting going forwards. But I would say mentally, he's not there yet to fulfil whatever's under that bonnet. Then it was the superlative, the Group 2 affair over 7 furlongs. Native Trail just holding off the strong finishing Baldinos, Masakela. Boost for the Chesham form, John. Your point, Lonsdale. Thoughts?
Well, again, the Chesham, I mean, it's a small sample, but the Chesham's proving better than the Coventry form there, really, because you'd have said the Bab was representing the Coventry, wouldn't you? And I don't think we were terribly keen on the Bab. The Native Trail had looked very promising on debut. I ended up, I give them both 101 for that yesterday.
Yeah. I would say Dabab didn't quite get home. Just seemed to have got the race sewn up, and then I've seen a lot in the superlative. I've done a lot of sires that have won the superlative, and I think you need a bit of stoutness in that pedigree, and you wouldn't have thought so, but because they go a good gallop often in it.
It's early enough in it for a 7 furlong championship race, really.
Yeah. Native Trail, I'll still stand by. I think it's got a slightly rounded action, and I think that ground would have been lively enough for it. I do think it'll probably be better on good to soft rather than good to firm. So Native Trail, I've got hopes going forward. My choice in the race ran no sort of race, not up to that level. The Bunbury Cup, I felt John was a bit of a disappointing affair, really, because the Motta Kael, even though it was a fine weight carrying performance in terms of rating, 109, bolting up by 3.5 lengths, that kind of tells you where the race was at in terms of, well handicapped sorts, etc., etc.
Well, to a point, yes, but I think the slightly interesting thing was the second horse. Now, we know from the real Slim Thady's comments the night before when I mentioned that he'd slipped up and said far too much about how much he fancied this. For some reason, I felt that Team Gosden thought they had a little bit in hand off 100.
Yeah.
And if you take the winner out, he's won with a little bit in hand,
Yeah.
Now, I know he's probably pushing credulity a little bit, but if you were to bump his rating up to any level at all, I mean, say give him 104, for example, Yeah, I mean, Motta Kael's put up a hell of an effort then.
He does. If you put it like that, it does.
If you think it holds water, I mean, it's a point of view. I'm not handcuffed to it, but the time wasn't bad. I think Motta Kael certainly outrun its rating. Whether it's £11 worth, I don't know. But
I mean, that's the thing for me, though. I know you're saying the time wasn't bad. It wasn't, but it was only just as quick as the Bedford Lodge.
Yeah.
So that, and then that puts Fundamental obviously quite a bit behind in the Bedford Lodge. So I'm not so sure what's ran the races too much. Fundamental come from a worse position, I felt. So I think it can be upgraded for that. But I don't know, it's a tricky one. But if we give him Motta Kael full credit, you'd say he's ran 220. Yeah. But I'm actually struggling to give that 120. So I don't know. That's a different.
It'd be hard pressed to give a 5-year-old that, wouldn't you?
I think so. I think Matakail just loves that straight 7 furlongs at Newmarket. I mean, it's. I think it won the race. Yeah, it won the race last year. So you basically got a dual Bunbury Cup winner. In fact, what's his record at Newmarket? I think it's something really good. Just trying to find out now. Its record at Newmarket is 1-1-2-1. So you've got a serious animal there at that track. Obviously loves it. Loves the place. So fair play.
Just HQ more than Cecil Boyd Rochford, isn't it?
Yeah. Darley July Cup, Starman didn't chin, won nicely really. I was wrong. I just expected the 3-year-olds to dominate. I felt the 3-year-olds were better. I didn't see no obvious excuses for any of the 3-year-olds, just beaten by the best horse on the day.
Yeah, I thought Creative Force, you could maybe make a case for could have done with a little bit of a better run near the rail, but you wouldn't back him to beat Starman over course and distance, I don't think, after seeing that. No,
I mean, form looks solid enough, to be honest. You've got, I mean, Glen Shield's 6th. He's a very, very solid yardstick. Art Power's 4th. Oxted's 3rd. You've got the Commonwealth Cup disqualified winner in 2nd. You've got the Jersey winner in 5th. It looks extremely solid form, and I like you said, I agree with you about Creative Force. Actually, it did get a bit of a stuttered run. It might have pipped Dragon Symbol, but like you say, it wouldn't have.
I thought he should have been near enough to Dragon Symbol, but the winner won well, didn't he?
He did, yeah. So happy sometimes just to put my hands up and say we got it wrong there, but yeah, we tried to be Rolf Harris, failed. Right, over to York, and the first race of the day on the TV there was the John Smith's handicap. La Trinidad won at 13-2 in a ridiculous fast time. This race, ridiculously fast. Any view on that race, John?
I was glad to see Gobby Rog have a winner.
Gobby Rog.
I didn't take a lot out the race, to be honest. I thought it was just one of them typical York mile handicaps, where pace probably rolls all and track position and whatever. I generally tend to disregard York handicap form to a certain extent unless you're getting into the real big handicaps.
Yeah, I couldn't make head and the tail of it really. Nothing really caught my eye either. So we'll move on to the bigger, one of the biggest races today at York. John Smith Silver Cup, the Group 3 contest. Hookham did the business. Didn't look to be too strongly run this race, John.
No, without box, staying put really and finishing 2nd. I think that tells the story of the race really. And Hookham's got that 12th furlong group class turn of foot, put the race to bed really about 2.5 out, to be honest. He wasn't in front then, but I mean, God, there was only one winner at that point, wasn't there?
Yeah.
The rest of them were struggling for pace really. Roberto Escobar definitely wants a much stronger run race. He doesn't quicken, he lengthens and grinds it out, So I'd have him a couple of pound below his current rating for that. And I still think the horse has scope to rate much higher. Fujairah Prince looked as though he was getting outpaced on the bend, really, turning in.
Yeah.
Which again would illustrate that they haven't gone very quick at all. But it suited Hookham, and as I say, as I said on Friday night, I needed to win something like that with him, and it's nice that he has.
Yeah. Roberto Escobar still possible Ebor candidate?
Well, he could run, couldn't he? I don't know whether Mr. Agus might have something £7 or £8 below that he might fancy a bit more. I don't know. It's a tricky one. He might be thinking like Jockey Club Stakes at Newmarket, something like that. Go up a bit further in trip. That's what they tend to do when they get outpaced in badly run 14 furlong jobs, in it. They think, we want another 2 furlongs.
Yeah, I don't think that race suited him myself. But,
no, I don't.
Yeah, it could be more to come. Then we go to the John Smith Cup, which is the 405 race, and obviously some tremendous tipping from you and Bickley 14. Got it nailed to a T, really. I felt the unlucky horses in the race, or was the third horse, Straight of Hormuz, who you obviously liked a lot, and Dawam, the fourth horse, was another one that was caught, sort of a lot further back, travelled well into the race, just never getting there because of that. I thought those were the two really that shaped like the best horses in the race to me, John.
Yeah, in a belting race, Dawam, didn't he?
Yeah.
You couldn't knock that effort at all. Astro King was a big disappointment, but I think overall we sort of expected that.
Yeah.
Big effort at Ascot. It doesn't often equate to a good run in the Sirens. Doesn't often equate to a good run at the Magnet Cup meeting, does it? I thought What's the Story was quite interesting. Keith Dalglish's horse. I thought that was travelling quite nicely, but seemed as though a little bit short of pace in what wasn't the best run of races. I think that is one I've got on my mind now. If they brought that back for a 10 furlong handicap at the Ava meeting on the same sort of ground, and there was going to be some pace on, I think I'd be very interested in that one.
Interesting. Okay, What's the Story? Something to watch out for then, folks. And just to round the card off, the John Smith City Walls, Winter Power, utilising and basically showing what York's all about on sort of decent quickish ground, which obviously the Clark didn't think so good to soft. There was no good to soft in that ground. So the 5 furlongs event, Winter Power just blitzed them and kept rolling as they often do at York, which is often why I think that Nunthorpe's are hard to win sometimes, because the way the front keeps rolling sometimes at York over the 5 can be difficult to ride a tactical race. Anyway, do you agree?
I do. I mean, they're not coming back to you at all, are they? I thought Ronan Whalen tried to be a jockey on Urban Bait, found himself in trouble after a furlong, really.
Yeah.
And I was quite impressed with that horse, actually. I thought that ran a nice race, and from a physical point of view, I think he's a lovely sort. I could see Johnny Murphy getting a nice race out of there at some point.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's got some useful form in Ireland. Being competitive. I won a Group 3 in Ireland. Beat. Yeah. So yeah, Winter Power blitzing them for speed, sending punters home happy in that race. Regarding horses to follow from the July meeting, John, anything that stuck out for you over the 3 days?
I wouldn't have said there was a lot that I was really enraptured with. I thought the Han and Philly and the Falmouth was terrific, but I'm not telling anybody anything that didn't know there, really. And again, Starman in the July Cup was a little bit of a revelation to me, but I mean, he's going to be very hard to beat wherever he goes if he gets his ground, isn't he?
Yeah.
What do you think make of him for a Nunthorpe? Would he be quick enough?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I think, as I said, Nunthorpe's are. I always say it's a special type of sprinter to win that. It depends how York rides, John. That's the thing. It's like you said. If rain gets in that, sometimes you get some really funny results and races. But I've always said when it's rattling quick, you've just got to get on the bunny over 5, and that's it. Blast off. Not sure. I mean, my take on Newmarket was Willie Jarvis was in tears over Lady Berthorpe. He says to be fair, I mean she was unlucky in the Falmouth. That was plain to see. But
tears are a bit strong though for somebody whose family's been in the game that long, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just one of them things.
Yeah. Come on, Willie. There's kids with bone cancer.
Yeah. The kill managed 1 winner from his 13 runners, but he had some run terrible, I felt, during that meeting.
Yeah.
not the usual kilt meeting where he'll pinch 2 or 3 from the front. Anyway, he struggled all week there. Maybe he'll get his money back at Goodwood, like he sometimes does, which is unfortunate for everyone. My my non-jigger for the week, the Jimmy Lindley lovely pair of hands section, ran at Thursday at Doncaster, and I was quite incensed by what I saw from Paul Hannigan on Grifter. Now, the market was 4-9 Monsieur Jumbo, 11-5 Grifter, 22-1 bar. Monsieur Jumbo misses the kick 5 lengths. Grifter takes a little bit of a keen hold, but he's okay. He's ridden handy, and I've never seen a fancied horse ridden as blatantly quietly as that. As Miss Monsieur Jumbo passed him with the Rebecca Menzies horse, he did nothing. He let them pass him. And I'm thinking, well, when are you going to move? He finally just sort of nudged the horse out in the closing stages, just got denied a short head for second. But it was if to say, at no point in my mind was Grifter off a yard in that race. Anybody watch it and give me a differing view? I'm all ears for opinions, but I think the only reason no one said anything is because most folks will be on Monsieur Jumbo. But like I said, he weren't favourite. If Grifter had been favourite, I think we'd have had Twitter going berserk at that. But Grifter, anyway, is one to watch. It's clear that they've got probably their minds on nurseries, with that horse. But I've no idea what that was from Hannigan, the Manigan, that ran at Doncaster in the 110 race on Thursday. So if you want to get your videos out and watch that, do you agree with me? Let me know. Anything for you, John, in the non-jiggers?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether you call it a non-jigger. I just yet another example of utter stupidity from the world famous for stupidity Simcock Yard. There ran a horse yesterday called Ispahan in the mile and 6 race at Ascot. I'll just read the Racing Post comments here. Steadied start, held up in rear, ridden over 2 out, kept on inside final furlong, held and eased final strides, never near a challenge. Well, it was probably near enough to be possibly hassling Buriram for 3rd place. And once it looked as though it might get near enough, Jamie was stood up in the saddle like John Wayne. I mean, honestly, I don't know why I'm even putting this up, because God alone knows where it'll go. Because, I mean, the horse is ready to win, I would say, and I'm almost sure to win off 85 and could probably do some damage off 90. But, what will he do next? He'd probably take it to bloody Brighton over 12 and drop it out or something,
I mean, Simcock is definitely the most held-up trainer in the UK today, without a shadow of a doubt. And like you say, you made a great point one of the other shows where you said you could only back Simcock on straight course at Ascot or Donny.
Yeah.
It's just literally like that, where it's good for held-up. It's a strange way to run your operation, but I don't know if that's what floats the boat. Maybe we get Simcock on the show to explain it, John, to explain these constant dropout tactics. That's one for us. That'd be a coup for us to get Simcock to talk to us.
Is to get the great man on and to insight into why he's bucking the trend with all these pace biases.
Yeah, I know a few. I certainly know a few trainers do listen to this show. I know that for a fact. So if you know Simcock, just get hold of him, and maybe you can just put us back in our box on why I yelled everything out the back of the telly. Right, that's me and John done for this week. We're back on Friday as normal, covering the Newbury Super Sprint meeting. Quite a weak Saturday next week. And then we're back on Sunday as usual again with the sermon. There'll be 3 of us on that show. So good luck England tonight, and let's hope we're going to bring it home. That's all from me and John. Bye for now.